As promised, here we go.
So thank you all for being here.
Switch this freaking thing around.
He's going to go through the evening in a moment, but what I'd like
There we
to
go.
do is, well, first of all, we need veterans in the house. Veterans? All right, if all the veterans can. All right. Do we have first responders in the house? Police, fire, paramedic? Great. Well, thank you all very much for your service. We appreciate it. So now I'm going to, if we could rise, I'm going to call for Tony Campbell to do the invocation. If you could remain standing, and then we will do the pledge to, the national anthem, Star Spangled Banner by Alexandra Levine.
All right, so first of all, I just want to thank God for today, because we don't have to be here today, except for His grace. I want to read a scripture that I think is important. So a couple nights ago, I stayed up until about 1:30 doing some stuff, and I went to sleep and woke up at 6 o'clock and had one of those epiphanies, right? One of those things you're just like, oh, you know, it's nothing but the Holy Spirit that gives you stuff like that at 6 o'clock in the morning. And I was reminded of this verse. This is Psalm 139, verse 14. I will praise thee, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are thy works, and that my soul knoweth right well. Here's the problem with America, is that we don't know that we are fearfully and wonderfully made. We don't know that God has not only given us rights, but He gave it to us because He made us. And when you don't know that, and when you're not secure in that, you'll let government tell you anything. What to do, what to wear, what to eat, if your business can be open, any of that stuff. Because you don't know your place in the world. Let's bow our heads. Heavenly Father, just thank you for today. Thank you for your grace. Thank you for the world that you've created. Thank you for all the people that we know. We know that we've been given this fantastic country that you've given us. Lord, just let us be wise. Let us be dutiful. Let us be mindful of what you've given us, and to make sure that we hold on to this republic that you have so graciously given us. So, Father God, thank you for our veterans, our first responders. Thank you for our police officers. Thank you for all of our candidates. Thank you for all of you that are here. And we give all the praise and blessings to Jesus' name. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Amen.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say the sad stars spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Yay, ball game.
Thank you
I
very
wonder if
much,
Bill
Alexander,
Painter knows
for
that.
wonderful
Does Bill
recognition.
Painter know that?
At this time, I would like to call Jolie McShane. She is the president of the Republican Women of Baltimore. Baltimore County.
Yay.
A top-notch organization
Yay.
in Baltimore County. And it has been wonderful working with her and her organization.
Thank you very much. Go ahead for that. Next week, the Patriot Club of America and Republican Women have a gubernatorial debate up at the Delta Hotel. We anticipate over 100 people. So this will be very exciting. We're looking forward to it. We also would like to announce that the Patriot Club of America has opened a new division down in the Halliburton area? No. Dundalk area. So this is very exciting. There's flyers on your table. So join that group. We have been out sign waving, paying at the pump. You can see one of the signs over there. You can see it up there. We're inviting any and all candidates to join us. It's a Republican crowd. We're doing very well, attracting people, getting lots of horn beeps. So candidates, please join us. We're doing it Thursday, June 16th, down in Middle River. We have an action day, because we believe in being active, us Republican women. And we are offering 4 different choices. The flyer is on your table. And one of those, again, is a sign wave, as well as signing up to be an election judge. Super, super important. There's flyers out here tonight to be an election judge. Please sign up if you haven't already. We're also thrilled to host Dr. Frank. He is part of the Mike Lindell series, and he's a doctor, a data doctor, and he is coming on the 21st of July, and he too is going to be at the Delta Hotel. We expect over 150 people for that presentation. So this is a mark your calendars. Next. I'd also like to introduce the school board candidates, but before I do, I too was very confused as to what councilmatic district am I in. This is a map of the councilmatic districts. So the big green area towards the top, that is 3. The purple one down on the left-hand side is councilmatic number 1. Please go to the next screen. Next screen. Okay, so at the very bottom of this, you can go to the Board of Elections right now on your cell phone, and if you put in voterservices.elections.maryland.gov voter results, you can find out which district you are in right now. So as we introduce these candidates, you can say, oh, that one's in my district. Now these candidates are nonpartisan, but we know which ones we're going to pick. So first I would like to introduce Corey Coons, please. He is councilmatic number 1.
Thank you, Jolene. Thank you guys, first of all, for coming out here. It's a lot, right? Like everybody knows it's a lot of work. Everybody knows it's a long road, and there's not that much payoff at first. But I hope to, by the end of November, be able to change the path for Baltimore County schools. I am apolitical. I'm a registered Republican. I vote. I'm not politically active, or I wasn't up until maybe February. For me, it started with recognizing a bunch of failures, right? Like abject failures from the county schools was a long road, and then just sort of the fuel was the COVID restrictions and all of that, and the damage that it did to my 2 kids. I was a free lunch, ride the school bus to school kid from a single family. And now in my district, they can't get kids to school. 5, 10 buses every day that don't show up. And that is, if you want to talk about equity, or if you want to talk about opportunity, there's no way you can talk about things like CRT and all the other hot button stuff that everybody wants to talk about if your kids can't get to school and they can't have a safe meal and have a safe environment to learn. So for me, it's big about discipline and consistency, and get the kids to school safely and have some responsibility and accountability sort of at the management level. It's not the rank and file teachers. They're not the general problem. It's the administrators, the administration. So yeah, if you're in Arbutus, Lansdowne, Halethorpe, Catonsville, Windsor Mill, anyone in Councilmanic District 1, look me up. My name is Corey Coons. Corey Coons for Board of Ed. District 1, CoreyCoons.com. Pretty simple.
Thank you very much. Next, we'd like to have Rebecca Chesner, Councilmanic District Number 2.
So this is really new for me. I was a school psychologist for 25 years for Baltimore City Schools, and I was recruited by my friend Ruth to run for this position. And I thought about it for 2 minutes, and I said, yes, this is something I want to do, because I believe that I'm a big advocate for the kids, and I believe they've been exploited for too long by people in power with political goals that are, I think that we need to right now focus on education without the politics. When you have children graduating elementary, middle, or high school, and they're performing significantly below grade level, it's not the time to start pushing political agendas. We have to get back to the basics and teach kids basic academic skills so that they can grow up and graduate and be functioning, productive citizens as adults. One of the things, a couple of things that I'll be pushing for is I'm against the lockdowns and the mandates. I think they've been a disaster. And I just found out I had 30 seconds. So I'm going to be fighting just to get away from the politics. And I'm in District 2. I hope I'll have your vote. Thank you very much.
Next, we have Maggie Litz-Domanowski.
Hi, this is really new for me. I am introvert, so excuse me if I didn't come around and meet all of you, but I am running in District 3, and I'm doing this because I have 3 elementary school public students. And I've been a registered Republican since I was allowed to vote, and living in Maryland, I can put up with my politics not being accepted by most people, but when you come after my kids, that's it. And that's why I'm running. I want to keep politics away from my kids. I want them to have a good education for a successful future. I want transparency in the classrooms. I want to know what they're learning. And I want the best for all of our kids, not just my own.
Thank you very much. Next, we have J. Michael Collins, Councilmanic District 4.
Good evening. You can drop the J and just call me Michael if you see me. I became involved in this. I have 2 young grandsons. They were 10 and 5. And I go in there one day to watch them for my son. And he's sitting there at the computer. I said, is that your teacher? He said, no, that's just some guy they brought in to teach us how to play music. Where's your instrument? Oh, we don't have an instrument. Where's your scorecard? Oh, there's no score. What's a score? So I go over to talk to the other young grandson, 5, and I said, how you doing in school? He says, well, I don't have a computer, but I miss my friends. And so then the other 10-year-old comes over, have you seen the new Star Wars movie? That's how interested he was in looking at this computer, listening to this guy teach him music. About 2 weeks later, I ordered a pizza for him at Papa John's. And I'm old school, I carry cash. So I went in to pay the guy, it was $11.45. I handed him a $20 bill and 45 cents. He hands me 45 cents back, that's $7. I said, hey, you gave me the wrong change. He looked at me like I was stupid. I said, hey, it was $11.45. I gave you the 45 cents, you owe me $9. And he was obviously a high school kid, or a young adult, from either Owings Mills or Franklin or Newtown, where I lived. 30 seconds. And so that's why I got involved in this. And I looked at the who was running, and there was no Republicans running that I could identify, that I would know. I said, I got to do something about this. This is ridiculous. So my platform is these kids should have a safe place to go to school, and they should have a comfortable place to go to school. Why don't somebody in Baltimore County think about putting solar panels on all these schools, reducing the electric bill by 2/3 to pay for the solar panels? I'm out of time. Sorry. You want to talk? I'm back there.
Thank you. I do not see Julie Henn in the room. Is that correct? Okay. Now I'd like to introduce our moderator for the evening, and that is Louise Baker. She is the second vice president for Republican Women, and we are forever grateful that she has taken on this job. Thank you, Louise.
So I am actually not new to being around politics, but this is my first time for hosting a debate forum. So bear with me. I want to thank you all for being here to the Baltimore County Executive Candidate Forum. I need to ask you to please silence your cell phones. And now I'm going to announce our wonderful candidates. We have Darren Badillo, Henry Siskowski, Tilo Gluck, Pat McDonough, Scott Pappas, and Kimberly Stansberry. This is not a debate, it is a candidate forum. Candidates should not engage with one another, but instead answer the questions directly. Candidates will be given 3 minutes to provide an opening statement, 3 minutes for a closing statement, and 2 minutes to answer each question. When 30 seconds remains, the timekeepers, Garrett and Neil, sitting over there, will raise a yellow card indicating it's time to wrap up the statement. A red card indicates your time has expired. Each candidate will be asked the same question. 5 questions have been developed by an impartial panel, and no candidates have seen nor heard them prior to tonight. A 6th question will be taken from the audience. There's an index card on your table and pens, and I encourage you to ask a question and then turn them into Jean Benhoff, who is right here waving her hand. Many thanks to the Republican Women of Baltimore County and Baltimore County Republican Party for co-hosting this event, and please welcome our Republican candidates to the forum. So this is question number 1, and Darren Badillo, you will be answering this question first. Oh, I am so sorry. I skipped your opening statement. You have 3 minutes to provide an opening statement. You're going to go first, and then I'd like you to pass the microphone down the line. Thank you. Sorry about that.
Thank you, Republican Women of Baltimore County and the Central Committee for putting this together. My name is Darren Badillo, and I'm running to be the Baltimore County Executive. I love Baltimore County. I love serving in Baltimore County, and I want to do it at a higher capacity. With your vote, I can do that. I'm a deacon at Rosedale Baptist Church. I'm a director of operations for our at-risk youth mentorship program the past 3 years. And what I believe Baltimore County needs is to strengthen our foundation, and that will take us in the right direction. Thank you.
Thank you. My name's Henry Siskowski. I'm from Edgemere, Maryland, or Edgemere, Maryland. It says, a lot of people say it different. I lived there most of my life. I graduated from Sparrows Point High School. I joined the United States Marine Corps right after that. Thank God I didn't see battle. After that, I got a job in a food retail industry. I've been there 23 years, still there. Took a little college a while back. The reason I'm running is because of crime. I cannot stand what's going on in our neighborhoods in Dundalk, Essex, Catonsville. I listen to citizens, And it seems like none of the politicians are doing what they're asking for. Property theft is up. The murder rate in Baltimore County in 2021 set a record for 55 murders. And something has to be done, and I've helped out other candidates, and I just don't see anything happen. It's getting worse. We can't have another 4 years of this, so that's why I'm stepping up. And also, everyone, little things I like to do for hobbies and stuff. I like landscaping. I love going to the national parks, looking at nature, the birds, like going fishing, and that's about it. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Thilo Glück. I'm running for county executive. I'm 51 years of age. I'm married, one child. And I'm gonna look at my cheat sheet. And the steady decline of the country, the state of Maryland, and in the county has really behooved me to do this. It feels a little unnatural for me to do it the first time. And I really want to throw my weight behind this and stop this madness that's going on. My professional experience is landscape construction and design. I have done municipal construction cost estimates for large buildings, parking garages, etc. I've worked in construction in construction inspection. I've done bridges. I've done, a little nervous right here. I've done tunnel inspection projects, roadway, waste, water, railways, and water inspection. And I've ran the Maryland Transportation Authority Materials Testing Laboratory for 6 years, so I know concrete, asphalt, and soils pretty well. And why is this important? It's infrastructure. Baltimore County's infrastructure. The grassroots movement don't have a lot of money trying to get this done with we the people. I'm not a politician. I'm not a career politician. I'm a grassroots kind of guy, and I'm a we the people kind of guy. So it is what it is, and I'm trying my best for all of you. My goals are help the police, fix the hiring practices within Baltimore County government. We need to do something for those people, and also fix education. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. I'm Pat McDonough. This is not an election. This is a last chance. And I'm representing not a campaign, but a movement. We call it Save Our County. You see it on all of my signs. And that's what this is all about, because I predicted 4 years ago when I ran for this office that the election of Johnny Olszewski would be a disaster. 4 more years of this radical left mob in Towson will be a super disaster beyond recovery. We need to run an individual who has experience and knows how to push the buttons. 30 years ago, I led the campaign for Roger Hayden, the last Republican candidate that won the county executive's position. And I was his special assistant, and I got to know all of the agencies and departments. I know the law. I know what must be done. Now, here's the good news. All of these things can be corrected. The education system can be changed. The public safety system can be changed. The housing in Baltimore County can be changed. But I will give you one warning ahead of time. When I become your county executive, there will be no complaining. There will be no calling into talk shows. There will be no letters to the editor. I'm going to import super citizen spirit. I'm going to put you all to work. We're going to rebuild this county together. I cannot do it alone. I'm going to call upon you. We're going to make Baltimore County great again, and we're going to do it the smart way with ideas, solutions, and success. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's a tough act to follow, I'm sorry, but I'll try my best. My name's Scott Pappas, and I'm running obviously for county executive. The reason why I'm running is because I've been involved for the last 20 years in service organizations, whether it's at the local level, the state level, the federal level. I've recently taken on the burden of trying to address the school overcrowding and the dare I say, the corruption that precipitates from a lot of the laws right now that are actively contributing to school overcrowding. About 1.5 years, 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, I got involved in a development in my community that affected us. And from there is really where I originated, from where I'm standing right now. there's something called the Adequate Public School or Public Facilities Ordinance. And what has happened is that ordinance is a key instrument in controlling the pacing between school overcrowding and residential development, and they're not synchronized right now because the rules, the laws I should say, are not being followed. And because of that, I felt the personal responsibility not only to my community, but also to the residents of Baltimore County, okay, to take my message, okay, a little bit more public. Matter of fact, I've shared with many of the candidates that are running in very different races, whether they're delegate or senator, councilman, school board, things of that nature. And what we're trying to do is step off, okay, let's say baby steps. The draft legislation I started with right here was to eliminate the #1 loophole. I'm not going to bore you to tears because legislation is probably more boring, okay, than differential calculus. But with that stated, I just want to introduce myself. If you want to learn more about me, you can maybe visit my website. It'll probably explain a little bit more about what I got to say. And thank you very much for coming in. And I want to give a special kudos to these great ladies right here. These guys are kicking it. Republican ladies of Baltimore County, way to go, girls. Kathy, where are you at? Kathy Spiro, where are you at? There she is. I love her. She is great. She's doing it too. I love Mr. McDonald. Thank you very much for all your efforts. And thank you for coming tonight. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Kim Stansberry. I'm running for Baltimore County Executive. The reason I'm running is I've always been involved in local activities. You know that mom that always is the room mom, that plans the carnival, sews the band uniforms, does everything that's needed for schools? And then after 9/11, there were no more field trips. There were no more room moms. It was very difficult to get into our schools to see what our children were doing. So I'm like, this can't be. I want to know what's going on with my children. So I got involved with the Boy Scouts of America. I became a teacher for citizenship in the community, the world, and the nation. I did that for over a decade. I was the mom that went on the camping trips in the below 7-degree winters and the 105-degree summers to get these kids to learn more about their country and their communities. I love Baltimore County. Baltimore County is where I chose to raise my children. I've lived here since I married my husband, and that's been 36 years ago. Before that, I lived just across the city-county line. I went to Northern High School. You all know Northern High School now is the Reginald F. Lewis High School. Well, let me tell you, what was going on then is now what is happening here in Baltimore County. We need, and I believe Mr. Pappas did a really great job of introducing you to the Adequate Public Facilities Ordinances. We need this to go before the County Council. It was finished in December of 2020, and it still has not gone before the County Council. This has to change. I was at the meeting, virtual meeting for the County Council on Monday. There was another thing there. Johnny O is trying to have carte blanche over what developers get, free fees, waive the fees. This can't happen. We have to have criteria to go by. There must be rules. There must be order. I come from a military family. I know how things should be done, and it should be done in a way that is fair to everyone. And this is why I am running for the Baltimore County Executive.
So now is question number 1, and Darren Badillo will answer first, and then we're going to go down the line in order. In 2017, County Executive Kevin Kamenetz issued an executive order regarding law enforcement standards on immigration status, diversity, and equity. In 2018, County Executive Don Moeller updated the order. Our current County Executive, Johnny Oleski, has affirmed that the existing order remain in effect county-wide. The original order placed Baltimore County into a sanctuary county status. What is your position on the current order making Baltimore County a sanctuary county? Would you change it? And if so, how would you change it?
That's a great question, and it's an important question for our community. I'm against sanctuary county. We have schools that are over capacity, like Scott has been sharing. We have students in our school that we don't have enough teachers to teach the kids in our class. We have children with IEPs that are not getting the proper services, and then we have children that should be excelling even more, not even being challenged. So I believe what we need to do is that we need to take care of Baltimore County residents first. I believe that we need to put incentives for families to stay together. I believe we need to focus on bringing working families to Baltimore County, strengthening the tax base. I'm not for all this overdevelopment for the vouchers and for Section 8 housing. I believe that we need to take a pause for 2 years and strengthen our foundation. I think we need to build up our schools. We need to give more support to our police officers, to our EMS, and to our firefighters. I believe that it shouldn't be based on the color of your skin, depending on what job you get. It should be based on the content of your character. We always have to put Baltimore County first, and I believe we can make Baltimore County a great place to live, work, and play.
Well, I would eliminate that executive order. I think it's unconstitutional, and we got to take care of our citizens first. How about our vets that are homeless, and we're going to take care of people coming in here illegally? We can't allow that. That would be automatic reversal for me. Also, I would like to see the Baltimore County Police work with ICE again. I think that was eliminated. I read that somewhere. And Homeland Security or whoever. We got to get rid of that. We got to take care of our country, our county, and do the right thing. We don't know who's coming in, right? We had these laws in place to stop crimes. There's some drug smuggling going on. I've even heard of child molestation, things like that coming in. There's a lot of crazy things, diseases. We got to do it the right way. Our Constitution is what it is. Johnny Olszewski can try to manipulate things and say this and that, but the fact is, you have to come in the correct way. Thank you.
So I was not aware that it was an executive order. I always thought that the county council voted on that, but in any case, if it was an executive order, then that is very easy for another county executive to get rid of that and to counter that with an executive order. But what worries me about it here is it's really important that if the Biden administration repeals the Title 42 health policy, and there's going to be a massive influx on illegal immigration, these people are not going to go to a place where it's unfriendly for them. They're going to go to a place where it is friendly to them. So any place, whether it's a county or a city where there was an executive order for a sanctuary status for illegal immigration, is going to get the brunt of that immigration, and this needs to be reversed, and I'm absolutely set against it. Thank you.
There are at least 7 executive orders that I will cancel in the first week. I'm going to review them all, and we've already looked at some of them. That one will be canceled. We will also bring the federal government into Baltimore County with 287G program, where we will train our police on drugs and on illegal immigration. We will also have them train in the jail, and I will move the illegal immigrant criminals out of Baltimore County as quickly as possible. With the passage of legal marijuana next year, the fentanyl problem is going to be overwhelming because Maryland is a sanctuary state. I will create the smartest, baddest, toughest anti-drug strike force in the United States in Baltimore County to save our people. I will also create a policeman's Bill of Rights for Baltimore County, which was killed in the state legislature. I will bring Project Exile into Baltimore County, which means if you commit a murder in Baltimore County, you will be tried by the federal government, you will be subject to the death penalty, or your mama can visit you in Wyoming.
Yeah, yeah.
And any fentanyl-related drug case, I will turn you over to the federal government under the Justice Department and have you prosecuted. We're going to do something different in Baltimore County. Baltimore City is a failure. I pledge to you that I will never allow Baltimore County to become another Baltimore City. It's a failure. It's not about race. It's about failure. We're going to have success because we're going to have programs that work. And finally, I say this to all of you. We're going to make safe neighborhoods, safe schools, and a safe county.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll stand for the people in the back, and if you don't need to see me, I'll be more than happy to sit right back down. It's kind of interesting that tomorrow evening is going to be the 12th anniversary of a rather horrible thing that happened in my family. I was a board member of the St. Nicholas Greek Orthodox Church, and every year we have a wonderful Greek festival down there in the beginning of the summer. My son had just graduated from the University of Maryland, the flagship down there in College Park. He was top of his class, super cum laude, ready to go off to Georgetown Law, and everything was fine. And we were down there with the ethnic dancers, and I got a call about 1 o'clock at night that my son was at the shock trauma unit at the Bayview Hospital. And of course I gathered all the family up. Did I hear something? Oh, I'm sorry. Anyway, to make a long story short, he was ran over by an illegal alien that had already been deported 3 prior times while he was running away from the police on a handgun violation. Well, we finally got to court, and he was charged, I think, with 45 felonies. And the only thing that came out of it was he was, as you guessed, deported for a 4th time. I'm sure he's been back in the United States years and years ago. So I do have a rather personal interest in the fact that we do have a sanctuary county. It seems like we have a sanctuary country is really what I see. And we're just a minor footnote in the bigger problems, okay, at the federal level. But as a county executive, I would be, like I said, like my colleagues here, embracing any kind of law that would reject, okay, any further, okay, of a sanctuary county. Thank you.
As county executive, I would repeal that executive order. Baltimore County does not need to be a sanctuary county. We've all read in the newspaper the accounts of the night flights coming into Martin's Airport. We do not need this. They come off the planes and they disappear. Where do they go? Well, we don't know, but we know they're here. Baltimore City, it's not like there's a fence or a gate or whatever there to keep them. We not only have to work in Baltimore County to get this repealed, we have to make sure that it's not going on in Baltimore City as well, because let's face it, what happens in the city comes out to the county. So we have to work in coordination and try to get this stopped. We need to concentrate on the people of Baltimore County. I spent the day down at the VA hospital in Baltimore City. I was in the presence of greatness. These men and women there have put their lives on the line so we can have the freedoms that we have. Not so someone who has not worked to get into this country legally can just destroy it for us. I know many people who have come to this country. They have waited. They've done it the correct way. They have raised their families here. They have become good citizens. We need more of that. We do not need more illegals in Baltimore County.
All right, question number 2, and Mr. Siskowski, you're going to begin with this one. According to a report in the Washington Examiner, last year's border encounters were 1.7 million. This number is expected to reach 2.1 million this year. Our open southern border has become a drug trafficking route for the drug fentanyl, a synthetic opioid. According to Politico, the number of opioid overdoses totaled 80,816 in the year 2021. As Baltimore County Executive, what concrete plan would you propose to protect the citizens of Baltimore County, particularly our most vulnerable?
Well, we would definitely have to fill the vacancies up in the police department to be proactive against it. I hear in December we're getting ready to lose a lot of police. They're retiring, getting out because of the radical media and radical politicians attacking them. We got to support them. If they don't get supported, you know, that you can't be a coach of a football team and not support your team. They're going to lose ball games, and that's why we can't keep them. I want to give incentives for them to stay in and recruit more officers so we can tackle that problem. I would definitely work with ICE. I would allow that to happen, and Homeland Security, make sure we tackle that problem. And again, we gotta get more law enforcement involved. Thank you.
Yeah, first of all, I would not advocate for any safe injection sites for anything like this. I would fight absolutely against that. The other thing is, yes, increasing law enforcement activity in certain areas where drug abuse is happening. Enforce the small crimes. Don't let anything small go by the wayside. You enforce the small crimes, you will get to the big guys. And we really need to be all vigilant. We all need to be take part in that, and making sure if we see something that we actually report it. The influx of fentanyl is caused by an open border. The border is wide open. People letting illegals with those drugs just walk right on over. And while we, at this point, cannot prevent being here on a local level in Baltimore County, the drugs from coming in, we can do something about it through the police and through the local community. And if we all stick together, we can make it through it. Thank you.
Years ago in the state legislature, I introduced and passed the Police Officers' Bill of Rights in the state of Maryland, which has now been eliminated. For 20 years, I served Baltimore County in the state legislature honorably and retired. And I can tell you that the legislature is now filled with radical leftists, and they are coming after Baltimore County. And we better have somebody in that office that knows how to fight that mob, because they want to take our money and raise our taxes. But I meet with the police FOP every single week on my radio show. Dave Foldenauer is a personal family friend of mine. We're going to do a lot of things. I said earlier, we are going to build the smartest, baddest, biggest task force, strike force on drugs in the United States, right here in this county, because Maryland is going to be a legalized marijuana, fentanyl centerpiece on the East Coast. We have to protect ourselves here. I have 250 police short in Baltimore County and 500 in the retirement pipeline. We're going to raise their benefits. We're going to train them properly. We're going to create a great training center in Baltimore County for our police officers. And there are going to be police officers around this state wanting to come to Baltimore County and work for the best police department in the state of Maryland, maybe in the United States. And I will tell you another thing. We are going to bring guys and gals out of retirement back into our police department. This is going to be a tough job in these next 4 years. It's very difficult. It's very complicated. The only way we can win this fight, we will be an island of sanity and success in an ocean of craziness in this state. But it's going to take a leader who will stand up and hold the line. Someone who will stand up to the Baltimore Sun and the radical left and say, I don't care what you think, this is my county and it will come first and we will save our county.
Yeah. Yeah.
If I remember, the question was, what am I going to do about fentanyl in Baltimore County?
Yes.
Is that pretty much it? That sums it up?
Very quickly.
Okay, thanks.
It's what would you do about the fentanyl problem? How would you protect Baltimore County's most vulnerable citizens?
Well, I guess when you say the most vulnerable citizens, you're referring to our children, our young adults. Is that the crowd you're talking about?
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, as the father of 5 sons, it's always been in the back of my mind what they're going to be exposed to drug-wise. Fortunately, because of the environment that they grew up in, we didn't even have alcohol in my home for about 18 years, and now I have a fully stocked bar. Okay, so I'm glad they all grew up and moved out. The bigger point, though, is this: is that I think that if we're trying to, again, go to government, it seems like all we do is run to government. Government, solve my problem. Government, fix my family. Government, do this. Government, do that. Government, and more government. What we proposed in our home is that we were going to be our own government, and we were going to raise our children as best as we could without crying, okay, for help from some external force. What I strongly suggest is we take accountability in our own homes, because when you say I'm on fentanyl, that's a symptom of another problem. That means we got drug abuse. That means we got depression. That means we got mental issues here. So where are the parents at? And then it expands out to the schools. Then it expands out to the communities. Then it expands out to the local government. Then it expands out to the state. And obviously it goes all the way to the federal government, where we really need assistance. If we can ship $40 billion, which I think equates to 4 tractor-trailer loads of $100 bills to Ukraine, we have the resources here in America to address this monetarily. The question is do we do it at the old school way in the home, or do we once again go back to the state, looking for the state to make those solutions? I suggest we give the resources, okay, to the families. Thank you very much.
The inflow of fentanyl has affected just about everyone we know. Our children see it every day. Let's face it, it's in our schools. It's in every song they hear on the radio, every time they turn on their computer. What we need to do is get back to basics. We need to teach our children the right way, and that certain things are not what we do. Let's give them a moral choice, get back to basics. Let's get our law enforcement to the point where they can stop it before it comes into this state. 95, 83, 70 are all drug trafficking highways. We need more police. I agree. The Law Officers' Bill of Rights has got to be reinstituted. We cannot keep our law enforcement officers if we don't have their back. And we need to let them know that we will not stand for this any longer. We actually pay, as taxpayers, for Suboxone, known as Narcan, but our diabetic individuals, our elderly, our disabled cannot get insulin for free. Why are we giving it out like candy? We're proposing putting in safe use zones. This can't happen in Baltimore County. Mental health, yes, is a crisis, and we need to get support for that. But we need to take responsibility for ourselves as well.
You know, fentanyl, it's a very scary drug. All right, I think we're good now. Maybe not. All right. So, fentanyl is a very scary drug. If you guys don't know, if you touch it, it can kill you. A lot of our children, they experiment with drugs. And what we're finding out that fentanyl is mixed in with almost every drug that's on the market right now. So I think it's very serious that we get tough on crime and drugs here in Baltimore County. Now, I'm the Director of Operations for the Baltimore Youth Coalition, but also I work with those that battle addiction for the past 3 years. So I see the struggle. And the problem is that we do have a mental health issue going on in Baltimore County. We have residents after the pandemic that don't know where to turn to. They turn to the liquor store and they then turn to drugs. But as far as public safety in Baltimore County, I believe it starts with Chief Hyatt. With all due respect, Chief Hyatt needs to go. You know, with morale at an all-time low, with recruitment at an all-time low, you know, I have to say Chief Hyatt is just out of touch with reality. When you hear the Chief of Police saying crime is down, with all due respect, she has to go. And what I would do is, I believe that we need to promote from within. We need to have better relationships with the FOP. We need to have weekly meetings and listen to the suggestions and document the recommendations and have action items. I believe that as county executive, I will look at the law enforcement officers' Bill of Rights and make the modifications that work best for Baltimore County police officers and not give more rights to criminals. It is the responsibility of every community to ensure the safety and security of our schools, churches, businesses, and homes. We do that by fully funding our police, fire, EMS, and make sure they have the proper tools and training to protect and serve our community. Thank you.
All right, question number 3, and Mr. Gluck, you will answer first. The Maryland legislature passed the Maryland Police Accountability Act of 2021, which caused police officers to either move out of state or retire. Baltimore County is short 100 police officers, mostly due to this law. Therefore, Baltimore County's crime rate has dramatically increased over the past 2 years. What is your realistic and measurable plan to address this issue?
Thank you. So accountability always goes both ways, and I just want to remind every citizen, when you approach the police, you have to be kind, nice, respectful, you have to comply. If that doesn't happen, we have a problem. I'm in favor of the Law Enforcement Officer Bill of Rights. The legislators in Maryland have to reinstate that bill. If they want to make changes to it, that's fine, but they have to bring it back. That way we can recruit more police officers, better police officers. And in order to get the police back up to where we need them to be, we need to be in the top 3 ranking in the counties surrounding Baltimore County. If you don't have a benefit package, if you don't have a pay scale that matches Harford County or any other county that's around Baltimore County, you're not going to get the police officers to come back. You're going to have a mass exodus. Everybody's going to leave because the police officers feel stabbed in the back. So we first got to get on with that, and we have to get the police back up and give them what they deserve. That's really, really important. I'm not in favor of the Police Accountability Act. I personally don't like it. If we could revisit that and get the Law Enforcement Officers Bill of Rights reinstated, it would be much better for Maryland, for Baltimore County. Thank you.
As I said before, I co-sponsored and passed the first Police Officers Bill of Rights 20 years ago. And I will pass another one when I become your county executive. Now, I'll tell you this. Melissa Hyatt is a politically correct, wokey police chief. My police chief will be told to do something different. We're going to make crime illegal again. I will tell you another thing. We will have the best police force, the best trained police force. The fentanyl is coming. The way you stop the fentanyl is you create an act called the Fentanyl Prosecution Act. The state legislature will not pass this. I will ask my legislators in Baltimore County to introduce it. If they fail to introduce it, we will have litigation that will force it. Anyone who deals in fentanyl will be subject to the Project Exile law, which means you are subject to the death penalty or being sent to the federal government Department of Justice, where you can get no parole. They have no parole at that level. These are some of the things we're going to do. But it's going to take experience. I already meet with the Fraternal Order of Police every week. And it is not 100 police short. It's 250 police short. And there are 500 in the pipeline. And unless we put together a police force with a law and order chief, a law and order county executive, we're going to have trouble recruiting. But we've got to retain. We've got to have retention packages. We have to train these guys and gals how to do the right thing. And we are going to do that. And I promise you, I will never, ever allow Baltimore County to become Baltimore City. I promise you that.
Yeah.
Again, these are some really tough questions that were being asked by the ladies tonight. You know, we're talking about, again, these are all social issues, they're federal issues, and we're really downstream from a lot of this. You know, Trump, as much as you might like him or not like him, was trying to put us in the right direction, and it seems like we've gone backwards now that the Democrats are running the White House. You know, when you start talking about the police really took a hit with the Black Lives Matter. That's really got bashed, and that was again like a what do they call that? Like the perfect storm. We had the the pandemic. All these people were home. They ain't got nothing better to do, and then this Black Lives Matter, where we basically, I think, sanctified a felon is what we did. Okay, and then we had all this rioting across the nation. And from there, okay, the police across the nation became subject, okay, of all the social woes and everything else, and basically they're being a whipping post right now. I agree with Pat, I agree with everyone that in order to have a decent society, you have to have law enforcement. Now, I don't want to pick on our courts, but I'm a member of the PCRC, which is the Police Relations Community Council. Thank you. And real quickly, I want to share with you that we have the police, okay? We have the courts. And I'm going to put a lot of the blame on the courts. The courts are not doing their job, and we never hear the courts being called out. So I would suggest that we all here start looking at the courts and making them more accountable for having a revolving door, okay, on this crime. Thank you very much.
Mr. Pappas, again, I agree. Mr. McDonough, I actually agree with you also. Our law enforcement officers need the best training facility we can possibly give them. We need to have the one that is paramount to the best in the country. My nephew is a Baltimore County Sheriff's Deputy. He has been harassed. He has been threatened. Our law enforcement officers deserve better than this. The Law Enforcement Officers' Bill of Rights now make every one of our officers and their families vulnerable, and this cannot occur. We need them right now. With fentanyl coming in, we have to make this county safe, and the only way we're going to do that is if law enforcement is as strong as it can be, and courts have to dole out the sentences that will keep people off the streets, that keep a revolving door going back and forth, over and over again. How many times do we look in the paper to see this person has been charged 5 times before with the same crimes? Let's stop this now, because this cannot continue in Baltimore County if we are to keep our community safe, our children safe, our elderly safe, all of us. We have to do this now. We can't wait 4 more years to do this. So something has to happen this election cycle. Thank you.
Thank you. This past Sunday, I had the chance to go on a ride-along with the White Marsh Precinct. And I have to tell you, I was very encouraged It seems like we have a young police force, but we have a very strong management team. When I was riding around with the officers, she was 3 years on the force, and she was constantly in communication with other officers that were fairly new. But what I saw was the communication between their leader and constant communication about each scene, and that was very encouraging. They love Baltimore County. They work great with the fire department, the EMS. The only concerning thing that I saw was when we were about to pull in for the night. When we pulled in, they had to fill up the gas tank, and there were still 10 calls that needed to be attended to. So in between the shift change, those 10 calls had to wait for another officer to get in, then to get out. You know, what we really need to do is remove the anti-cop laws passed by the county council. We really need to show more support for our police officers. When I was at the FOP Bull Roast, they told me that the police officers is the only profession that can no longer use their instincts. That if they pull somebody over and something happens, they get asked, why'd you pull me over? That should not be right. They put their life on the line every day. Morale is at an all-time low, like I said, and it is the responsibility of the county executive to ensure the safety of every resident in Baltimore County. That's why I said Chief Hyde has to go. And as the county executive, I will look at the Law Enforcement Officers' Bill of Rights, and like I said, I'll look to make modifications that work best for Baltimore County police officers and not give more rights to criminals. It is the responsibility of every community to ensure the safety and security of the schools, churches, businesses, and homes. We do that, like I said, by fully funding our police, fire, EMS, and ensuring they have the tools, training to protect and serve our communities. Thank you.
Look, we got to elect legislators to support the police. That's the big thing. And then as county executive, I'd ask the legislator to, I'd ask them to sponsor a bill for me to rescind that law that was put in. And we also got to go talk to other counties. Once we get our police, we give more money and more support. We can point out to other counties and say, hey, police are welcomed over here. We'll support you. If they're not supported in the city, come over here in the county. Again, we got to support our police. That's the biggest thing. We got to give them more incentives to stay in. That Chief Hyatt doesn't want to do a trial board. She's against it according to the Fraternal Order of Police. So they have rights too. And as county executive, I'd make sure that's in place, that we have a chief that supports their police. Thank you.
All right, question number 4, and Mr. McDonough, you will answer first. The Health Emergencies Powers Act allowed County Executive Johnny Olszewski to order lockdowns, mask, and vaccine mandates. Do you agree with his use of the Health Emergency Powers Act? And if not, what would you have done differently?
Well, to be honest with you, I think there's very little that I agree with that Johnny Olszewski does. Litigation is going to be a strong and important part of the next county executive's job, including on the issue that was just mentioned. 3 years ago, I formed a Respect the Constitution nonprofit law firm, which helped these great ladies like Amy Adams and Mary Taylor to put together the Parents and Students Coalition for Baltimore County. Also, you may remember Vince's Crab House was under attack by Black Lives Matter. We called the police. Hyatt and Olszewski told them to stand down. We sued them, and we're still suing them. On the same day, he marched in a Black Lives Matter parade in Reisterstown. Litigation is going to be used to protect freedom and the conservative movement in America and in Baltimore County. Right now, the Section 8 housing is being forced upon us by a legal judicial dictate, which is flimsy and unconstitutional. My first week in office, my 40 members of the county law firm will sue to get rid of that, okay? We will sue on other issues. Litigation is important. Experience is important. The gentleman just said the legislature. 70% of the legislators in Baltimore County are left-wing wackos. They are voting in the General Assembly against the police. It's going to take litigation, it's going to take experience, it's going to take courage, and it's going to take you to be with me and join me and support me in the fight to save this county.
Yeah.
Pat once again brings up a wonderful point. We got 3 branches of government. I think we still have 3 branches of government. It's the executive branch, it's the legislative branch, and it's the judicial branch. From my perch, what I see is that the executive branch and the legislative branch here in Baltimore County are not serving the residents of Baltimore County adequately. And I agree completely, okay, with what Pat said here about we need to implement our 3rd branch to bring that check and balance to the other 2 branches in the courts. I know what I'm talking about. I've sued the federal government, literally, okay? I have been before the Board of Appeals. Matter of fact, I'll be testifying on the 21st of this month for a community, Norwood Holabird, okay, again, on legal matters. I've represented people in my community. And again, it's a very, very good tool for us to counteract these executive orders and these horrible, horrible legislative policies that are coming out of Towson. Another issue that we seem to overlook is we've got another tool. It's called the referendum. And I have been itching to pull that trigger for 4 years with this Baltimore County Council. A referendum is basically they put down some crappy legislature, and then what we do is we take it to the ballot. And what's nice about that is it basically suspends that legislation. But I haven't had a chance to do it because every time I threaten them, they back off. Because I think once people get the idea that they have power here as citizens, and you don't need to be an executive, you don't need to be a delegate. What you need to be is just a concerned, dare I say, super citizen. And that's what a lot of community leaders are. Thank you. I'll close real quickly. And I'm just trying to, again, impart, okay, that we as citizens and voters have power. We just need to exercise it now.
During the pandemic, Johnny O did indeed force mandates upon the citizens of Baltimore County. We've seen the results of those mandates. Our children have been isolated. They are afraid of other people. I know my granddaughter, who is a kindergartner, all she knows is a mask. And this cannot continue. It is not his domain to enforce things upon us. If a citizen wishes to wear a mask during a pandemic, that is their right. But to force it upon the citizenry, that's a whole different story. We have to get back to the Constitution and protect the constitutional rights of the people of Baltimore County.
You know, when COVID first hit, we were all scared. You know, I remember going to wearing gloves everywhere in my house to fill up my gas tank. I was scared for my wife to leave the house, for my children, you know. But then they closed down our businesses, closed down our schools. And then you, as a leader, you look at what's going on in the community. You take a bird's eye view and you see that they closed our public schools, but left open our Christian and private schools. They closed down our small businesses, but left open Target and Walmart. And at the end of the day, what that just showed me during the pandemic is that we have leaders in charge that do not put Baltimore County residents first, and that's what I would do. And what I would have done different is, what I believe we need to do is we need to give more support to our small businesses so they can continue to thrive and grow. We need to put our small businesses back on Main Street. We need to connect the unemployed residents with employment opportunities. There's enough jobs out here for anybody that wants one. And when Baltimore County works, Baltimore County wins. We need to build bridges between employers and the workforce. And we need to put incentives to assist the lower income workers get back on the job. like providing temporary childcare and transportation to help remove barriers and provide relief, which is so much needed. Like I said when I started, I believe that solid foundations encourage positive change. Thank you.
I don't support the mask mandates, and I don't support shutting down churches. I don't support unless the pastor wants to do it or the parents of the mass want it, but it's unconstitutional to force it down their throats. Thank you.
As a private citizen or as your county executive, I am against vaccine passports, against vaccine mandates, and I'm against any lockdown. If I could ask you all real quick to take a look at this Liberty Forever, Mandates Never. And that's Michael Anthony Perutko, and he taught me something, and he handed me the Maryland Constitution right now. I'm going to read something for you. It's Article 44, and it says that the provisions of the Constitution of the United States and of this state, meaning Maryland, apply as well in time of war as in time of peace. And any departure therefrom or violation thereof under the plea of necessity or any other plea is subversive of good government and tends to anarchy and despotism. It says it right here, it's illegal. He has no legal authority. John Olszewski has zero legal authority to shut you down, to vaccinate you, give you a vaccine passport or any of it. But I hate that stuff so much. Thank you.
All right, question number 5, and Mr. Mr. Pappas will answer first. The Baltimore County School Superintendent is not responsive to the needs of Baltimore County parents. As county executive, how do you plan to change that?
All right, so what I hear is that there's a lack of communication between the school system and the county government. And I don't want to go off on a rant, but I do believe this is done on purpose. Again, going back to this ordinance that I've been preaching about for a number of months and years, the laws are favoring special interest groups. And I'm just going to say, Baltimore County is corrupt.
Yep.
It's institutionally corrupt. And if we change out, the county executive, it just seems like the corruption just goes on and on and on, no matter who we put in there. So I ask myself, why? And the problem is, it's the actual laws. And the laws that we have aren't even being followed. And people go, well, they're not following the law. Just like, who was it? Kelly Madigan points out the fact that we right now, she's got, I don't know how many pages it was, 109-page report about how Brown Enterprises is currently getting illegal waivers. And the county executive said, oh, well, we've got to enforce that contract because it was made with a previous administration. Well, any idiot in the first year of law school knows that you can't enforce an illegal contract. So why is our county executive, who's a doctor, Dr. Olszewski, is enforcing a legal contract? So what we're going to propose is that if he doesn't change this, we're going to sue him personally. Personally, we're going to sue him because he is negligent in his duty, and the law states that we can sue him personally, and he will not be shielded by Baltimore County or our tax money. Well, I'm sorry, I didn't want to get on a rant, but thank you very much.
I believe what Mr. Pappas is referring to is what was brought up at the county council meeting on Monday night. That I also wrote a letter to Johnny O. and every member of the county council. It's Amendment 4122. And what Johnny O wants to do with that amendment is change the charter of Baltimore County so that he can give fee waivers to any developer that he chooses to do that. My question is, what's the criteria? Does he do it for his best friend? Does he do it for contracts over a certain amount of money? We don't know. It's up. There's nothing in there to dictate who gets what. It's unfair. As far as the superintendent of Baltimore County Public Schools, the Board of Education has one and only one employee, which is, guess who? The superintendent of the public schools. I applaud, the county council for recommending that we look for other superintendents at this time. I think it would be good to get a list so we can replace the one we have who has been missing in action for 4 years. Try to get an interview with him or to sit down and ask where the money is. You can't do it. There is no oversight, and we must have oversight because they control 50%, over 50% of our budget, and we need to know where the money is going.
And that's $2.3 billion, by the way.
Education is the reason why I got in this race. When they shut our schools down, my son Alex has an IEP. I was very concerned. We held him back before the pandemic hit, and then when it hit and they were talking about virtual learning, I had a lot of concerns, and then when I saw that it wasn't the right education for my children, I saw the struggle, but then I saw Christian and private schools open. I was really upset, and I got involved, and that brought me to the Baltimore County Parent and Student Coalition, where I joined my first rally to protest for our kids to get back in school. And I have to tell you, the Baltimore County Parent Student Coalition called for Dr. Williams' job a year and a half ago. So I appreciate the county council speaking up now, but I wish they would spoke up a little bit before. Thank you. I have to tell you, Johnny O and Dr. Williams let down our children, our parents, and our teacher. During the lockdown, when Dr. Williams was first elected, he said to the news, "I will make myself available." That was his first and only interview. During the lockdowns, when I was protesting with the Baltimore County Parent Student Coalition, the parents went, "What's the next step? When are our kids getting back in school? What can you do to help us? Our kids are behind. What are you going to do?" We didn't hear anything. For 2 years. So Dr. Williams, I agree. Like they said a year and a half ago, he has to go. And what I believe needs to happen in our education system is we need to hold parents and children accountable for disrespecting and disrupting our classes and putting our hands on students. We need to make sure that our teachers have the training and resources to provide the best education for our children. I believe we need to have more magnet programs. We need to have more trade schools for our children. Also, I believe that every child has the right to a quality and safe education. Thank you.
Yeah, I, along with the county council, would ask him to resign. That's what I would do. I'd put pressure, continue to put pressure, and push for him to resign. That's what I would do. Thank you.
Just ask yourself who put Mr. Dr. Darrell L. Williams in this position. Number one, you all know the answer to, I hope you all know the answer to that question. The second is what I want to point out is he makes $290,000 annually. That comes from golfsalaries.com, that's 2020 data. I've added up the salaries of, I call it the pixie dust department up there of the cabinet of Mr. Darrell Williams. And I've added up, I stopped counting at $4.6 million. If you add active data right now, or updated data, 2022 data, and some of this data was really old. It was like from what they made when they were principals or in other positions. If you add it all together, educated guess would be anywhere between $5 and $6 million conservatively. $6 million times 10 years is $60 million. There's a school. Defund the administrators. That's my motto. We need to fix it, but it's deeper than. Thank you. It's deeper than the superintendent. His entire cabinet needs to go. They're awful people. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Just a reminder in history, when I was a state legislator, I was responsible through an ethics charge in bringing the state in to investigate to get rid of Dallas stands. I got rid of Dallas stands.
Yeah.
Now, we need a revolution in education in Baltimore County. We got to return it to to the parents. Now, here's how you do that. You can specifically do that. Number one, you pass a parent's Bill of Rights in Baltimore County. Number two, we're going to create the position of education advocate. The education advocate will work in my office, will be an attorney, an enforcer, and in addition to that, will have investigative powers and subpoena powers. Another thing we're going to do is we're going to pass the Curriculum Act for Baltimore County. The Curriculum Act will say there will be no teaching our children sexual training. There will be no CRT. There will be history and civics education. There will be drug awareness teaching on every grade level, K through 12, so that our children are aware of what they're up against. At my old school at Kingsville Elementary, every year they have Patriots Day. It's a beautiful celebration with the young people. I will order the next county executive and the Board of Education, because you know what this is? That's the people's pen. I have the money. I'm the budget guy. And if you don't have a Patriots Day in every elementary school in my county, you will get no money for your pet programs.
Yeah.
I got so caught up in his, I forgot the question. What?
I believe you answered first. Ms. Stansberry, you're going to get the audience question of the night, and many of you have already touched on the question. It's kind of a three-parter. Will you call for the firing of the Baltimore County School Superintendent? Will you end, in all caps, critical race theory in our schools? And do you support school choice?
I think we've covered most of that, and yes, I will, all three. Yes, I will call for the resignation of the school superintendent. The second part of that, Louise, was CRT. CRT has no place in our school. Nothing should be taught to our children that makes them feel less or about themselves. They need to be uplifted, not led to be, oh, my great-grandparents did this, or the color of my skin is white, I should feel guilty about this. What about children of mixed races? Which parent are they going to say, okay, which parent should I dislike right now? This can't happen. We should teach our children to celebrate their uniqueness, not be demoralized because of who they are. We should be building up their characters, not putting them down. And the third question was school choice. You know what? I don't blame any parent in Baltimore County who feels that their child is not getting the best education that they can get. If they want to put their child in a private school, parochial school, there should be something there to assist them, because they have been paying taxes all these years, and some of that money should go back to them so they can place their child where they will learn the most.
No, it goes.
It's a three-parter. Will you call for the firing of the Baltimore County School Superintendent? Will you end critical race theory in our schools? Do you support school choice?
I 100% support school choice. And when I was at the school board meeting, and I've been to many, thank you, Amy, for always posting when they're going to be available, and Mary, and the Baltimore County Parent Student Coalition. And they gave Dr. Williams an award. I don't know if you guys know that. They gave him an award, and I had to go there and say, Dr. Williams, you need to get that award back. Because, thank you. Because when you're a leader and you accept an award, that lets the people under you think that you're doing a good job and you're not. So I agree he has to go. I support his removal. The United States used to be #1 education. But we're slipping and we're falling fast. You know, we're being all woke and we need to wake up fast. You know, and I'm telling you this right now. Thank you. You know, CRT. I was the first one to mention CRT, and the Baltimore County Parent Student Coalition can tell you over a year and a half ago. But we couldn't fight CRT because we had to fight to get our kids back in school. Then we had to fight to get the mask off of them. So now we're fighting the CRT. What I realized and I learned from the Baltimore County Parent Student Coalition, and when I am the next Baltimore County executive, I know how to fight the school board. You have to fight them 6 months in ahead. If you're fighting them on issues that's going on right now, you're already behind. I will work with them and other groups to fight for our children and do the right thing. Bottom line is, we need to put our children first, and every child has the right to a safe and quality education. Thank you.
Yes, I would call it a firearm. I don't have a problem with that. I don't think anybody does here. And I don't support critical race theory. I would fight against that. Anything that would come to my desk and I see that on there, I would say, I'll take that off. I won't sign any funding if that's on there. And I do support school choice, school vouchers. It makes the classes smaller. There's overcrowding in the schools, and it makes it easier for teachers to teach. You can see things going on with the students, whether it's abuse. So that would help ease the overcrowding in our schools. Thank you.
So as county executive, I cannot fire the superintendent of Baltimore County Schools. I believe the school board has to do that. So while I would support that, I don't think I have jurisdiction over that in any way, shape, or form. The critical race theory is straight garbage. That's what it is. Let's just call it that. School choice. So that's a hard one for me. And while I'm in support of it, I also look the other side. I look at the teachers. Baltimore County has really great teachers. They have a wonderful infrastructures. They got the bus system going. And I'm really in favor of the teachers. They're doing a really, really good job. They're getting beat up right now. They're having a really, really hard time dealing with this whole administration and with the problems the administration is causing for them. Am I for school choice? Yes, but would I say we ought to try fixing Baltimore County public schools first? I'd probably go there initially. Thank you.
Number one, I'll repeat because it's worth repeating. I have the people's pen. I have the budget. Don't tell me the superintendent is not going to listen to what I'm talking about. I also have a big mouth, and I will let the people know what is happening. But to be honest with you, at the CRT, I introduced a bill 5 years ago on CRT in the General Assembly, which the radical left killed, wouldn't let it out of committee. So I'm not a newcomer to CRT. But I'm going to be the county executive of all the children of Baltimore County, not just the government children. We have increased spending in this country by 50% on government schools since the year 2000. Where's the improvement? I want charter schools in Baltimore County. I want private academies in Baltimore County. I want homeschooling in Baltimore County. I want the best education opportunities available to our children, and I will appoint an executive education commission of private citizens and business owners from all points of the county to develop and fight for our private education system, and it'll be a good education system that will give competition. I am talking about a revolution. I am going to be the first county executive that doesn't give you a big lie and mislead you and say, I have nothing to do with education. I'm going to be the education county executive, and I'm jumping in with both feet.
Yeah.
I think it's a little unfair that you ask 3 questions and only give us 2 minutes. But I'll roll with it anyway. I think it's a no-brainer. The CRT is trash, garbage, and every other word that I'd probably get thrown out the window if I said them here right now. As far as Darrell is concerned, I want to revisit the fact that we're dealing with institutional corruption. I've got a chief counsel, okay, that was ordered with a resolution by the Board of Education not to destroy documents. And she went along and destroyed 27,000 documents. Howie. Miss Howie, exactly right. Now, I have raised this issue, I'm sure, like many other people in this room and on this board right now, and to this day, and let me back up, that's against the law. When you destroy evidence in a criminal investigation, that is breaking, that's a felony, is what that is. She was never brought up on charges. It was never addressed. It was just swept under the rug. Again, we are living in a county of literally institutional corruption. We read it every single day. Pat's got it right. You got to fight fire with fire. And the way we do it is through the budget and through the courts. And we can beat these institutionally corrupt entities. It's like the deep state visits Baltimore County. I'm going to leave it right there. Now, as far as school choice, I've had a son. He was with me for 2 years. We haven't schooled him. Thank you. I believe, okay, again, they just tried to pass legislation. When everybody pulled their kids, or at least a large group of kids were pulled out of school to be homeschooled, it was Sheila Ruth that introduced a bill to have a 7-person committee at the state level then go into homes and monitor what those parents are doing with those kids. So anyway, to make a long story short, from a long time ago when, what was it? Okay, give me 1 second here. A long time ago, I was a big choice favorite, and I've been booed in every corner, everywhere, but at least this thought has found its time. Thank you very much.
So thank you for answering all of our questions. So we're now going to ask each of you to provide a 3-minute closing statement for our audience. We'll start with Darren.
I want to thank everybody for being here tonight. This is an important moment in history, and you guys are going to decide who's the next county executive. I believe our next county executive needs to have integrity, character, and that's a leader, and that's me. I'm a lifelong resident here in Baltimore County. I love serving this community. And some of you might not know, I actually demoted myself from my job so I can spend more time with my family and serve the community and my church. I'm not in this for the money, but there's a point in time when you say enough's enough. When you can no longer sit back and watch what's going on and not step up. And that's what I did. I could no longer sit back. I would ask my pastor every day, every Sunday for a week, for a year during the pandemic, who's out here fighting for our children? Who's fighting for our community? And I would say every single week, and after a year, he said, Darren, you know what? Maybe God's calling you to do it. And I believe he is. And I'm going to tell you this right now. I will always put Baltimore County residents first. And like I said, I believe the key to moving our county in the right direction is continue to building on our foundation. We need to take a pause. I understand about growth. We need to grow business. Every business is about the fourth quarter, but we need to take a pause and a bird's eye view of our community. And we need to focus every dollar spent for the first 2 years on taking care of our children, their mental health issues, they're behind in school, and they need more assistance. We have elderly. I'm also a deacon at my church, and I work with the elderly. They're afraid to come outside. We need to have more resources for our retirees as well. I believe in building up our community. I believe in taking care of the residents and not our friends, and that's what's going on right now. We have somebody in charge that likes it to be okay. He don't want to move the ball forward, but it's going to take a strong leader to carry the ball over the goal line, and that's me. And I don't care what's going on in any other county, any other city. That's what every leader says. Well, compared to Indianapolis, and compared to Colorado, I don't care. What I care about what's going on in Baltimore County, and I'm not going to wait for nobody to come and save us. We're going to be the ones to fix the issues, and we're going to set the standard for the rest of Maryland and the rest of our country. Honor me with your vote, and I will deliver you a safe Baltimore County. Thank you.
Thank you. I served 4 years in the United States Marine Corps, and I think honors, courage, and commitment. I was taught in there, and I want to make sure that happens in everything. And our educational system, our police departments, everything that the county executive is involved in, whether it's environment or social services, our fire stations, everything, and make sure that our money is spent properly. But again, I want to support our police. I want to crack on crime. That's what I'm sick of. I'm sick of the politicians that do not do anything, and that's why I ran. I don't like what's happening in our communities, the property theft. A lot of people don't know that Essex is one of the worst communities in the United States for crime. That was on Neighborhood Scout. Go ahead and Google that. We had a lot of people don't know that anti-Semitic incidents rose 135% in the state of Maryland. That's insanity with the history that we know. Again, the murder rate is insane that I mentioned earlier with the records broken. The fentanyl. We have the second most worst fentanyl deaths in the state of Maryland. We're right behind Baltimore County. So again, we have to support our police, give them incentives and money to stay. A lot of them are leaving. We got to keep them in there, and also want to empower our sheriffs. A lot of people forget that. I'm not you people, but a lot of people forget that our sheriffs are the sheriff is elected. But you know, I would like to see 2 sheriff deputies in our schools take the Baltimore County resource officers out of the schools and put them on the streets. I think we need to make our sheriffs more prominent instead of just doing evictions and being in a courtroom. We have to build that up in Baltimore County. I see other counties. I don't see. It seems like Baltimore County doesn't have the sheriffs like other counties do. So that's what I want to see. Again, I served 4 years in the United States Marine Corps, and I want to serve for Baltimore County. Thank you, and have a great day.
I just want to use my time here real quick to add on to the police issue that we have. What I would like to see in the police force is a constitutional police chief. I would like to have constitutional reinforcement taught to the troops that are patrolling the streets. Because if we have a high level, if we raise the hiring standards within the police department, if they understand the Constitution lives within them and it lives in their hearts, and the police chief backs it up, and the county executive backs it up, we have a very, very, very good police force. And if somebody were to come down and say, hey, here's a mask mandate, here's a vaccine mandate, and everything else, I would like the police to understand, the police officer and police chief to understand, I'm not doing that. I don't have to do that. This is unlawful because it's against the Constitution of the United States of America. Thank you. The other thing I would like to say about the schools is I've had the pleasure to talk to Dr. Bob DeBell, and he is 97 years old. He still drives his car, not on the highway. And I've talked to him for quite a while on the phone. And I asked him, I said, when you were superintendent, what was schools like? What was out there? What did you have to deal with? He's like, I didn't have to deal with any of this. And he said, we had discipline, we had order, the teachers were happy, everything was good. And I asked him, I said, well, what was different? And he said to me that what was different was that the school board was all appointed. And the governor had to pick the school board of a list that was done by the Lions Club, Rotary Club, etc. There was a nominating committee that would nominate certain people for the school board, and the governor would have to pick of this list. And he said that worked really well. The only improvement, he said he would introduce legislation, or try to introduce legislation, to force the governor only to pick from this list. He said in the most times the governor did pick off this list, sometimes he went outside of it. But it doesn't matter whether you have a governor on the left or a governor on the right. If you make parents angry, you're not doing the right thing, and you're picking the wrong people, well, guess what? You pointed one guy to governor, you picked the wrong people for the school board. And I think going back to that would probably solve a lot of problems. Thank you.
A lady called me today and she said, I've seen your signs. What do you want to save our county from? And I said, Johnny Olszewski. She said, well, you know, I think he's doing a pretty good job. Right then I said, well, thank you very much for calling. Have a good day. We all get it. If there are enough people in Baltimore County, young parents putting up with the violence in the schools, if there are enough people in Baltimore County, senior citizens, worried about the violence and the growing crime, that get it, I'm going to be your county executive. Now, rhetoric is cheap. What you're going to do in the future is based on what you've done in the past. I have offered 17 different ideas here tonight. I counted them. I don't know if you did, but I did. You go to my website, patmcdonough.net, you will see the answers. It's easy to complain and say you're going to do this and you're going to do that. But do you have the experience and the courage to know where the bodies are buried? Do you have the litigation power that I have with my law firm to go after these problems? We cannot hit the ground on training wheels and wait 4 years to find out where the ladies' or men's room is in the county executive's office. We have got to go in with both feet on fire. The county cannot tolerate or wait for 4 years of training. I'm here to bring the skills, the experience, the know-how to get this job done. And I promise you, I will get it done.
Thank you. 4 years ago, Al Redner was nominated. Al had close to $2 million in his war chest. He had over 1,000 volunteers. He had a quadzillion signs out, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And he lost by 40,000 votes. That's a sobering number. And I want to bring a little bit of soberness to this conversation tonight because there's a distinct possibility that John O. might be our next county executive. And if that occurs, the question is what do we do? Go home and sulk and say, wait for another 4 years? Well, I offer you a message of hope that you do not need to wait 4 long years. What you need to do is exercise your ability as a citizen to write a letter and say, county executive, I'm not going to tolerate this. What you need to do is band together in your communities. Make up your own club. I made one up myself. It's called the Roosevelt Republican Club. And our motto is all good government starts with the individual. And that's what I have tried to do throughout my entire life of public service, is to empower the person. When you realize how much power you have as a citizen of this country, it fills you up with hope and inspiration. And what I try to do is communicate that hope and inspiration to all you people that say, oh, they're going to do what they want to do. They're going to do whatever. They're wrong. And I've proved it repeatedly, over and over and over again, going against the federal government, the state government, and right now we're going to go against the local government with this ordinance, and we're going to set this thing straight. Now, the reason why I came here tonight is to tell you about this ordinance because it's a sole platform of my candidacy. I talked to 30 people. I told them what I wanted to do. They said, we're going to support you 200%. I'm talking Democrats. I'm talking Republicans. I'm talking libertarians. I'm talking about space aliens that ride around in spaghetti, I don't know what. But the fact of the matter is, this is something that we, as an entire group of people throughout Baltimore County, and all of us as candidates can get behind. And I'm going to ask right now, okay, a commitment from all of these gentlemen and lady tonight, okay, that they support, okay, addressing this issue, because somebody's got to do it, whether it's me, whether it's these gentlemen here, or whether it's going to be Johnny O. These laws have got to be changed so they reflect, okay, what we desire. I'll close on this last point. If anybody's ever, has anybody ever seen the actual county organizational chart? Raise your hand. Great. Well, if you've seen it, what you know is at the top, at the very top, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's the taxpayers that are at the top. And it's the government that's underneath, not the government on top and the people underneath. So go home tonight and think about that. Thank you very much.
I'd like to thank you all for letting us have this time tonight to get our issues out there, to ask you for support. What I think Baltimore County needs, we need to get back to basics. We need to use common sense, and we need to put our families back together where we are in charge of our own families. Parents need to be in charge of their children. They are the best advocates for their child. They know what's best for them, not the county. We need to get back and use common sense on how our tax dollars are being spent. You can look at things in the county, like Johnny O trying to do the fee waiver. In Towson, there was a 1,200 unit apartment complex built. The developer puts down approximately how many children will be added to our school system. That developer put down 25. You tell me that there are only 25 children from a 1,200 unit apartment house that's going to go into our schools. This is unrealistic. Let's use some common sense, hold people accountable for their actions, and put transparency back into Baltimore County where the people know what's going on with their money. It's not our money. Every one of us here are here for one reason, and that is to serve the people of Baltimore County. It's not going to be our county. We are simply stewards of this county, and we will be accountable to you, the residents of Baltimore County. And that's what I aim to do as your next county executive.
Thank you again for answering all of our questions. So I'm looking across the room and I see Liberty Forever mandates never. I see pain at the pump. And I see Johnny O has got to go.
Right.
So we'll just leave it kind of at that. I need to thank the Republican women of Baltimore County and the Maryland GOP for hosting this event. Melanie here at CVP, thank you. Please tip generously to her wonderful staff. If you'd like to get more involved than you are already, please see one of our flyers or any one of us, quite frankly. I enjoyed moderating my first forum, and thank you. So please drive careful, stay safe, and maybe we'll see you at another event, okay? Good night.
There you go. Well, there you go. That was the event. I thought it was really good with Pat McDonough and everybody. Pretty much said some good stuff there. Johnny O's got to go. Get rid of that fucking creep. And thank you again so much, everybody. Listen, I couldn't answer the phone because I had a steady phone with this live event here. But I want to thank you very much for joining me, Ron Savage and Pat McDonough. And have a good evening, and share this video. Take this video, share it, because there's a lot of good things going on here that people need to know. Bada bing, bada boom.